So many berries, such sharp, short arms. Currently pretty much near the top of the tree. There's just this bit above me, but there's no way I'm going to reach that. But there's a ton everywhere, I just can't reach it all, because I like my neck in its intact form. So hopefully you're a good climber if you find one of these trees in your area. Hello kindred longevity lifestyle designers, this is Zach, your secrets of longevity.com. I'm here at an amazing tree. There's a lot of them in my town. It's a mulberry tree. I've shown in a video, I think 2 years ago, or going on 2 years ago, myself collecting them and eating some. And I'm going to collect more this time, and there's several trees that I've discovered since then. I'm going to load up on them in the next week or two and keep them in my freezer, try and get more than I consume at once. And I also wanted to just tell you a little bit about mulberries, why they're so beneficial. Definitely at the top in terms of berries that have health-giving properties. It's unique in that in Chinese medicine, mulberries are actually considered a yin-jing tonic. So it's up there with hushawu and a lot of these other very rejuvenative herbs, or considered herbs, kind of like goji berries. It's got a very high amount of resveratrol in it, which would be its jing quality. That would be the most prominent. And as we know, resveratrol in red wine and other things that have that similar color to them really sustains and protects the DNA at the genetic level. So we're going to show you some of these berries on the tree here. This is just one. How am I going to get it without all this purple weird feedback here? I'll have to go to the other side here. One way to find the trees actually is by on the ground around them. You start to see these splotches when they're ripe and the berries start falling. These bigger splotches here are probably animals that were eating it and then pooped it out in that color, such as the ducks that are all about this river here. And it's hard to get an image of it without this sort of weird purple exposure thing going on. Still learning how to use this camera. But as you can see, these ones aren't ripe. It's the dark ones. These are purple mulberries. That one's not fully ripe either. There's some in there that are, they'll just literally just fall right off if they're fully ripe. There's one that's completely ripe. Definitely sweet taste once they're ripe, of course. But you can see there's tons of berries on here. So often if they're growing on it by a sidewalk, you'll just see this all over the sidewalk, and that's your clue as to them being around there. So this is what the bark of a mulberry tree looks like. Just so you have an idea of... They don't get much bigger than this in terms of their thickness. This is a pretty thick tree actually. They're pretty easy to climb if you want to get to the berries at the higher levels. And then let's have a look at one of the leaves here. I'll actually pick one of them off so we can get it in a good light. There we go, I figured out how to do the focus. And you see it's got a shiny top to it. The bottom side isn't as glossy. Very basic shape for a leaf. Rigid edges. Leaves don't get much different than that. And now that I know how to do the focus, I'll actually show you some more images of the berries. You can see just the red dots in there. There's tons and tons of the ones that aren't quite ripe yet, and they'll get more ripe over time, over the next week or so. There's still tons that are ripe. That's the darker splotches you see intermixed in there. And then the really unripe ones are obviously these ones here that are white. You don't want to eat those. They're slightly toxic. They'll give you an upset stomach. Not poisonous, but they're that's an example of a ripe one. See if we can get that in focus. They should come off very easily. Actually, that one's not fully ripe. You can see it's going on the back there. So if you see this one, it's got sort of still a reddish tinge in between the berries. You can see it there. It's getting dark. Another few days that would have been completely ready, but it was, when you pull it off, you can feel it's actually tougher to pluck off, and that means it's not fully ripe. And it'll be okay to eat, but it's a lot more sour to taste. Now here's one that's perfectly ripe in behind here, that literally just comes right off with barely any work. And you can see this one is totally dark. Still, it's got a purplish tinge to it, but it's not, it doesn't have that red in between. And if I were to break it open, you can see it does have a very dark color, and that'll stain your skin. So be careful if you have white clothes on. These guys love the mulberries, I think. So I'm starting to get a couple in the bag there. It's gonna obviously not fill it up today, but I'm having fun collecting it up in the tree itself here. There's a ton of them that are ripe and ready to pick, and all I have to say is that if you're doing this in a public area, just be conscious, and there's probably other people that love berries too, and don't overpick, over-harvest, and that goes just without saying for any kind of wild edible, because you want to leave some behind for other animals, for other people, and for reproduction. I just love the contrast of the green with the reds and purples. It's pretty awesome to see. Well, I'm going to continue harvesting here, and I'll be back at home to say a few more things about mulberries. It's also kind of weird with people walking by and I'm talking in a tree. Talking to myself in a tree. Such a beautiful evening. Amazing sunset. Come the fall, we're going to have some wild grapes as well. That's all entangled into this tree here. You can see it kind of looks like a maple leaf. If they come out eventually, I'll do a video on them. But that'll be a few months before you can actually see the start of them here. Start of some grapes, but they're just little green nubs at the moment. Oh, you're friendly. I remember you. Saw you the other day. You're so small. Little meow too. Wildcat, no collar. He lives somewhere around here though. You're gonna break my camera, kitty. These are the spoils of my mulberry harvest. Maybe about a quarter pound. I'm really not a good judge of weight, but it was well worth it. I'm going to be enjoying these for days to come. I'm going to try and harvest some more. I'd like to get maybe 2 bags this size full that I can freeze and eat sparingly throughout a period of time. I don't know if it would last me a whole year or not, but I wanted to summarize a bit more on the amount of health benefits that can be achieved with the consumption of mulberries. Like I said, the number one thing I think that's going for it is the resveratrol content. It's very high, and you saw when I squished it in my hand there, it had that deep red color. It looks very similar to red wine. So if you made an alcoholic beverage out of mulberries, added them to mead, soaked them in vodka or any other hard alcohol with other things. Actually, an old recipe that I might actually try with some of these is crushing up some mulberries if they're fresh, or just putting the the dried ones in with schizandra berries. You could even add goji berries to that, and it's going to have an overall tonifying effect to your kidneys, the blood, and especially a beneficial effect on the hair, eyes, and hearing. So those three areas, a lot of people look towards herbs to help improve. This is another one of those ones that fit into that category that hushibu, goji berries, schizandra, and a lot of these others restorative yin-jing tonics would fall under. It's very rich in iron, so it's great for building the blood. It's got some unique antioxidants, anthocyanins, that are good for building the blood as well. They have a factor in increasing blood oxygenation, etc. A variety of other vitamins and minerals. You've got your typical vitamin C content, B1, B2 that you find in a lot of fruits. An interesting quality about the entire plant or tree is that the bark and leaves also have medicinal qualities. The properties of them are much more acute in terms of their effects on the body. You wouldn't use them unless you had specific issues that those would address. So they're not tonic. You wouldn't want to just randomly eat them or consume them. If you want to know more about that, look up the effects of bark or the leaves. But one other thing that tree is commonly used for in China is it's one of the trees that silkworms or moths can inhabit and consume the leaves of. And they use this and then harvest the silkworms, and they use either the fecal matter of the worms, which has its own medicinal properties, or they use the silk from it, or they actually use the cocoon from it rather, and make a tonic out of that. I'm not exactly sure the preparation methods involved in that, but it is a known tonic that has many restorative properties to it. But what we see is that association, and there's probably properties from the tree it's getting, and that's just an interesting tidbit I wanted to throw in there. Those are the general health-promoting, tonifying effects of the mulberry fruit. And if you want to learn more, obviously do your own research. If you live in and around the Great Lakes area, you definitely have them in your area. But if you live abroad, you have to do your own research as to what species of mulberry may be around you. There's over 25 different species of mulberry tree, I believe, and they can be found in various parts of the world, a lot in Asia. There's white mulberries in other parts of North America. The ones we have around here are white and red mulberries, and the red ones are the one I was looking at today, which is almost black. It's such a dark color, purple, but I guess it's referring to the color of the juice. It's very deep, rich red in color. The resveratrol content is high in all types of mulberries, regardless of the color. Perhaps the red ones might be higher, I don't know for certain, but that's just an interesting thing to take note of. You obviously generally have more antioxidant content in a food or a plant food, the richer it is in its color or its pigment. And with that, I just encourage you to check out the links below if you wish to support me in any way through the affiliates I have listed below. Like, favorite, and share the video, and also subscribe if you haven't done that before. And with that, take care and embrace life without limits.